Okay, so I have no idea what today's tutorial is going to be about. Benny, what should we talk about? He doesn't care. I'm not going to be able to rent a studio to make tutorials for a while, so for the next few video posts, I'm going to be focusing on smaller things that I can do inside the house, inside the home. Nothing like big that requires big studio space or like the bar or like a big spacious empty place for me to demonstrate. So just bear with me until I start making enough money to like rent studios and do better tutorials in a studio. Right now it's just little things. I had a few requests. Someone was like, can you just go over all the terminology? And I can, but I also want to be able to demonstrate it. If I'm sitting there just like listing off names of steps and telling you what they mean in French, that's fine. Like, yeah, now you'll know the names of the steps and what it means, but do you know what step I'm actually talking about? So like, I do want to... Can you hear the dishwasher running right now? It's the dishwasher. There are also little like home exercises, little things you can do on the floor and stuff to kind of help keep your ballet muscles active even when you're not necessarily going to be able to dance for a while. I should probably do more of those since I'm not really dancing that much. What's something small I can talk about? Oh! I can give you some tips for your hands. So I do have a video that talks about port-a-bras, like the basics of your port-a-bras, how you hold your arms and how they go through all of the positions. But something I can give you a little bit advice about is the hand, because a lot of the times, dancers, no matter how long they've been dancing, or like no matter how careful they are with their arms, me included, this happens all the time, you'll be dancing, and maybe you'll just like catch yourself in the mirror, or you'll see like a photo of yourself, or something, and your hand is like, meh. It's doing something ugly or weird. It's like you dropped your wrist, weird things are happening. It's like the arm is nice and then you kind of lost it at the hand. So I guess I could give you some little things that I think about when I want to keep my hands pretty. So I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I don't do that ballanchine shit. I don't release the thumb and open it and have I don't mess with that, no. I think when I first started learning to hold my hands, I was encouraged to actually touch my thumb to like the middle knuckle of my middle finger, and then eventually you can open it up a little bit. Not like thumb out, not all the fingers out like ballanchine, but the touching is just to start training this muscle to stay in, and then you can eventually release it and it will just go there automatically. But even with that in mind, it's still like I still see this happen, and sometimes the elbow drops too, but I don't want to focus too much on the elbow today. I want to really stay in the hands today. So I don't necessarily know if there's like a right way to teach how to hold your hands. There are plenty of different ways to teach you like how to hold your arms and what muscles to use, but once it comes to your hands, it's like there's just so many tiny like muscles and bones and things going on in here, and it's like you got 10 of these things that you have to control. So I feel like teachers don't necessarily pay a lot of attention to the hands, and they don't always know what to tell you to help you remember to hold your hands in like a pretty position. So I'm just going to tell you all the things I think about, and the thing that has recently started helping me the most. So when you're going through your positions, I've heard different teachers say different things. I've heard teachers say, like, the elbow leads the movement, and I've heard teachers say it's like the wrist or the forearm that leads the movement, and like, that's fine. You can think of those things as leading your port de bras, but that's still just focusing on the arm. Your hands are kind of forgotten. So the fingers are supposed to stay close together, not like tightly compressed, but pretty close together. And the thumb is tucked in, but not, you don't want it to be like parallel to your middle finger, because then it can start to look too much like a mouth. But you also don't want it to be too open. You don't want to like drop the thumb down and have those like god awful SAB claw hands. So I almost imagine that my middle finger and my thumb are making like a teardrop shape. Like they taper off. It's like if you were to continue drawing a line from my thumb, it would eventually meet my middle finger. So they're not parallel and they're not open. I imagine like a raindrop, and that they are eventually going to meet, if that makes sense. So then whether the hand is down and the palm is up in like your prep position, this still looks kind of nice and soft. And then like when the hand is in front, you still kind of see the fingers. They look relaxed, but they still look kind of thin, like they're elongating your hand and tapering off at the end. And let's see, if I leave my hand out to the side, it just looks like it's tapering off your arm, like it's just kind of continuing your arm. And then maybe like a little bit of a feathery kind of, your fingers are kind of like feathered. But I think the key is to find that like nice happy medium in the middle with your thumb and your middle finger. Because if they're too close, it's going to look kind of stabby and like aggressive and sharp. And if it's too open, it looks not like a hand. It looks like you have like a hook or like a bottle opener or something on the end of your arm. So my thumb and my middle finger are probably the first fingers that I think about when the time comes to do my ballet stuff. I think, and even when I'm doing my plies and, doing port de bras first thing at the bar, I'm like kind of checking out my hand and making sure that my fingers are looking, close together, but not tense, like relaxed, but pretty and elongated. But then sometimes this starts to happen. And I think it happens with everybody. I think everybody, no matter how good they are, they will lose it. Like even if the thumb and the middle finger still are in like a pretty position, we tend to drop it. Just let it go. And this is where I start thinking about my pinky finger. And this so far has helped me the most. I almost think of the pinky finger as going up to the ceiling. I don't physically do it. I don't physically tell my pinky finger to do, because then you'll have like something weird like this where your pinky finger is like sticking out. I don't actually put my pinky finger up to the ceiling. I just imagine that my pinky finger is lifted. And sometimes instead of imagining that the port de bras starts with the elbow or starts with the forearm, I almost imagine that the pinky is like the driving force, like pushing it up. So if you're always conscious of your pinky finger, you don't have to be like pushing your pinky finger up. Just be conscious about it. Just be conscious of that finger. And that always being conscious of this will most of the time prevent you from dropping your wrist. Because we're so conscious of this up here, the thumb and the middle finger. Okay, keep it together, keep it together. And without looking at our hands, we think, okay, thumb and middle finger are together. I'm good, right? And then this happens. And we drop the hand. So if you're not looking at your hand and you need a way to ensure that this doesn't drop, I imagine that my pinky finger is really the thing pushing the hand up. I also have a teacher that sometimes says, like, pretend your arm and your hand is resting flat on a table. Like, it's just flat and even instead of trying to, like, wing your hand or sickle your hand. Just the pinky finger is really the thing that, for me, helped stop me from dropping my hand and, like, losing the position. And if you're thinking of lifting from underneath too with the pinky finger, that will also help you kind of keep your elbow lifted. If you're so conscious about this up here, it is very easy to let this fall down. Because out of the corner of your eye, if you're looking straight ahead, in your peripheral vision, you may see your hand, you may see your thumb and your middle finger, and you're like, oh, my arm is fine, my hand is fine. But right around here, my eyeball stopped seeing my arm, so I can't even see that my arm has started to droop, and now I have these broken lines in my arm and my wrist and my hand and stuff. So if I want to maintain a nice position with my arm and my hand without looking, I want to think more of the bottom. If I want to ensure I'm thinking of the whole length of the arm and the hand, that means I gotta go all the way to the pinky. So once I start thinking of the pinky, just being conscious of it, that kind of corrects this stuff. So I want you to start being conscious of your pinky finger. And being conscious of the pinky finger, for some reason, it also helps me balance, particularly in like a penché. Because when you're in a penché, for example, you're trying to balance and you have all your limbs as far away from you as possible. Like your center of gravity is here and all your limbs are like so far away from that. So it's like, how do you make yourself still feel connected despite all your limbs being splayed far away? Well, when I'm in a penché, I think of my pinkies. I think of my pinky fingers, and I even think of my pinky toes, because those are the farthest and like babiest extremities, and those are the ones that we forget about the most. And it's almost like if you can control that tiny little far away detail, then you kind of like just make all those connections. It's like you're together again. So at the end of the day, if you want to control your arm and control your hands, you have to think of the farthest thing and the most forgettable thing, which is the pinky. I don't know. That's my biggest tip. That's what helps me. That's what helps keep my hand in a nice ballet position, is just not neglecting the pinky. So try it out and see if that little tip helps you.